Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. It's so good to see everybody. Come on in, come on in, come on in. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I am here with my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. I want to say welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. Pillow Talk is where we get together, and me and my wife literally, usually we're laying against our pillows, and we talk about the issues that affect our community. And so, anyway, we are doing this Pillow Talk not against our pillows, but actually in the studio, and my wife is in Chicago, well, outside Chicago, and I am actually in Kentucky. So I want to ask my wife, how you doing today, babe?
I'm all right. Wait, where'd you go?
I'm right here on your screen. You don't see me? Do y'all see me? Give me a yes in the chat if you see me. Apparently, my wife doesn't see me. You can't see me?
Like as soon as I said something, you like froze. But anyway,
Oh,
how are you?
am I there?
Today?
Doing good, doing good. So anyway, I want to say hi to everybody. Hey, Mark Edwards and Yoshika and Unti. Shout out the city that you're from. Let me know what city you're from. Nadia Bailey is out of Charlotte. Let's see. Mark Edwards, I see you with there. Logan Dow. Am I the only white person on the Dr. Boyce Watkins channel? I don't know. I never really ask. If you're white, don't be ashamed. Like we love everybody here. But we're just black first. And as long as you don't have a problem with black love, then we ain't got no problem with you. Now, if you think that black love means, that I hate white people, then I can't help you with that. That's your problem, not mine. So anyway, I want to say hi to Yashika from Houston, Texas. And I see Logan's out of Whittier, California. And I'm going to pull up something that led me to reach out to my wife about this conversation. So we'll put this picture on the screen. Y'all see that picture right there? Let me know if you see that picture. Do you know who those people are in this picture? Now, I assume you know the man. That is O.J. Simpson. And I put this picture up on my Twitter today. And my Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I like to believe we have a lot of good conversations on Twitter. But anyway, on Twitter at Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, I threw this up and I said, caption this. And I basically was asking people to caption that photo. Here you see OJ with his first wife, Marguerite, who is a beautiful lady, very beautiful woman. And these are his two children. And then this is the wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, who unfortunately was murdered around 1994, which led to probably the most notorious trial, in American history, one of the most notorious anyway. And I asked people to caption this, and the captions were really funny. Hilarious, babe. You had to be there.
Let me in on it. What was
So I asked people, I just said, caption this picture because it stood out to me. The image kind of stood out in the sense of it was like, wow, this guy went from, one thing to another. I'm not going to diss either, his wife at all, his black wife or his white wife, because I don't think that's right. But it was just interesting. I said, wow, his wife is so pretty. And a lot of people felt that he kind of went from point A to point B. And I just said, caption this, tell me what y'all think of this picture. I'm not even going to say anything. And Nadia already captioned it. She said from rags to riches. Or you mean from riches to rags, maybe? I don't know. But anyway, let me read some of these captions. Captions. Somebody said, how to downgrade in life. Another one says, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Let's see, another person says, yeah, okay. Another one says, stay with your black wife and children. Black family. The second one says his first wife should be thankful that she's alive. That's a good one. That's heavy. Another one says his first wife said he tried to hit her and she hit him back with a pot. Is that true? Did OJ try to hit his first wife and she hit him back with a pot?
I don't know. I have no idea. First of all, let me say something about you, boys.
Tell me about boys.
What, I want you to explain a little more. What moved you to put this up on your Twitter and take this poll or spark this type of debate online? What was going on in that little brain of yours?
Well, to me, it's not a debate. I'm a fan of the black woman. I just kind of feel like, I feel like OJ. It's like I remember when OJ. How many of y'all give me a yes or no if you even remember the OJ trial? Some of y'all may not even be old enough to even remember like the OJ trial. Do you remember like seeing it and where you were and what your life was like at that time? Give me a yes in the chat. I want to see how many kind of pseudo OGs we got in the building.
Boy,
And I'd like to know how many of you even remember the trial at all. And the thing is that, a lot of people, I remember a lot of people were saying at that time, they were saying, you shouldn't have been messing with the white girls. You should have kept your black wife, whatever. And that made me just really curious because we talk a lot about his white wife, but we don't talk a lot about his black wife. And I just really think that it's, an interesting conversation just to kind of explore, like, what was his life like? Here he is. He's a strong, handsome man. His wife is beautiful. They got beautiful kids. And then he got, in that world, that Dave Chappelle world, that world that DJ Twitch, was in before he passed, that world that Martin Lawrence was in before he lost his mind, that world that Kanye was in before he started, kind of acting out a little bit. And it's almost like it just reminded me of how that Hollywood space can drive people crazy. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, the biggest thing you notice in this picture is that Marguerite does not look happy at all. She looks miserable. Did you notice that? Look at her. Look at the other picture, the first picture you showed of this family. You didn't notice the look on Marguerite's face?
Well, that could just be a coincidence, though. That could just be because of the picture. But you are right, though. She doesn't look happy right there.
Look miserable. Okay, go to the other picture. Both pictures, she wasn't. Let me tell you, this lady, she ain't smiling through anything.
Let me see if I can find the other picture. Let's see if I can put it up there. Well, let me show you.
That's what I noticed.
Okay. Let me just prove you. I think I can prove you wrong on that. I don't think she was chronically miserable. Here's another picture of Marguerite.
But it didn't look like she was smiling.
That's another picture of her. I guess this is when they were younger. And he knew Marguerite in high school. She was his high school sweetheart.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think a picture really captures everything about a person's emotional disposition at that time. I don't believe that. I believe that a picture just captures a moment. And anybody ever take a picture where your face is contorted at the moment, you look like you half sleepy and like you're on drugs or something, and so I don't really think that a bad picture or a non-smiling picture means that you're miserable in your life. However, Marguerite, I read some of OJ's bio, it really just his Wikipedia page. And she did say that when he was younger, he was a horrible person. And I actually want to read some of OJ's bio because it's interesting. We know about OJ, when he was basically America's favorite white man doing the Hertz commercials and all that. We know about OJ when he was America's least favorite black man, when he got, accused of killing his wife. What people don't know is the whole story of OJ. And I think, didn't Jay-Z have a song called The Story of OJ?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
yeah.
That one. Mm-hmm.
So what have been your thoughts about OJ? What's your perception of him over time, Alicia?
I mean, listen, OJ Simpson was the ultimate person, the ultimate black man, from what I understand. Now I know OJ Simpson was in his prime and in the 80s, and I was like a child of the 80s, so I was really young. But I just remember OJ Simpson being a beast on the field of football. I remember him transitioning into acting. He did that movie Airplane. He was running. My biggest thing about OJ Simpson was running through the airport. I mean, he became like a verb. I'm doing the OJ Simpson through the airport. Like that's what I remember growing up, because was that the Hertz commercials? Yeah, when he was late or something and he had his bags and he's like flying through the airport. Like, I just remember him being like the all-American person. And right now, I mean, he's all but just erased from the history of football. I can't even tell you exactly. Did they take all of his awards away from him? He's probably not in the Hall of Fame anymore and everything.
Well, he kind of became Bill Cosby before Bill Cosby did. They kind of did. Yeah, they did a Bill Cosby on him, and they, and he was erased from almost anything positive. He almost became like almost like a Nazi type figure, where it's like you are not allowed to believe or say anything positive about OJ, in general, right? Like on television, anything like that. Black people, I think, had just a different opinion of him, though. I think, in fact, let's do a quick poll. Let's do a quick poll. How many of y'all believe OJ was not guilty? Give me a yes if you were happy when he was found not guilty, or if you just generally believe OJ was not guilty. Give me a yes in the chat. What do you all think?
I don't think, you know what? I don't think it really matters if he was guilty or not. Like, I think what the biggest thing is just that the image, it's the image. It's this black man who was at the top, the pinnacle of everything it is to be black in America and to be successful. And then we got to see him stealing his memorabilia back and him going to prison on the same day that he was acquitted for the murder of Nicole and that other guy she was with. I mean, to me,
Ron Goldman,
thank you for saying that. And so yeah, it's very uncanny watching, like visually watching him just fall apart like this is quite fascinating. And I don't know, like it's almost like he does in a way, I mean, kind of remind me of all of the black people in the media who fall out of graces, you know, who are in the out group. You know, he was definitely in the out group for, we don't know what really happened, but we know that, you know, the image of what we see, you know, and how the media can destroy you in a minute. And I think what we're seeing with Kanye West is pretty similar. And he's fallen out of the graces. he's not the it guy anymore. And so now we get to see him kind of tumble, so to speak. But you know, more so than just him, it's just the symbolism. It's the symbolism of watching, you know, potentially somebody who's the best at what they do, and we're rooting for him, and the symbolism of black men and the greatness that black men can be. And then now we get to watch him tumble down. And it's not unlike, I guess, but it's not unlike anything that we see, like even like Whitney Houston. I think about Whitney Houston, and she was the it lady when it came to vocals. Like no one could sing better than her. She was vocally, you know, just really great, and
right.
Then that was her fault.
No, I mean, you know, I get that. I mean, I think that with OJ, it's interesting, right? So let me read some more of the captions. Do me a favor, everybody. Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe if you haven't done it yet. And I'll read some more of the captions. Then I'm actually going to read some of OJ's bio. You guys will be fascinated. There are things about OJ that a lot of people don't know, and I think that when you hear this, you're going to kind of be surprised. And I'm going to ask you guys if you knew any of this. But here are some of the other captions. Some people said the grass ain't greener. Brandon said the sister knew he was flawed and went about her business. Let's see here. The actual killer is only pictured in one of the two photos. Okay, I don't know what that means. How it started versus how it ended. With great wealth and privilege, you can assemble an expensive team of lawyers to represent you on a charge of murder. Somebody said, really, is that what he go and pick up and make his wife? Wedding rings can roll and go some very ugly places. Okay. Just because you start off on the right foot don't mean you'll end up there. Another caption says, if I'll risk the charges was a person. Let's see here. All right. That is it. Okay. So here's the thing. So what I would want to do, what I wanted to do was actually, as everybody hits the thumbs up button, I'm going to read some of OJ's bio to you. It's really surprising. There's a lot of things about his life I didn't know. And he's a very accomplished person. He's not just the murder trial. You know, so OJ Simpson, he was born in 1947. First off, I was stunned to find out he's 75 years old. How many of y'all knew? Give me a yes or no. How many of y'all knew OJ was 75 years old? Like, or does that surprise you, or did you expect him to be 75? It's kind of it's crazy because that trial was almost 30 years ago. You know, and at that trial, he wasn't even out of his 40s yet, so he was still, you know, relatively young compared to where he is now. He's nicknamed Juice. He's an American football player, broadcaster for the Buffalo Bills and San Francisco 49ers. He attended USC, where he played football for the Trojans and won the Heisman Trophy in 1968. He was the first NFL player to rush for more than 2,000 yards in the season. He holds the single season yards per game average, which was 143.1. He was the only player to rush for over 2,000 yards in the 14-game regular season NFL format. Now he was arrested in 2007 and charged with armed robbery and kidnapping. In 2008, he was convicted and sentenced to 33 years imprisonment with a minimum of 9 years without parole. He did the whole 9 years. That's how long he was in jail. I mean, that's got to be crazy, to you beat the biggest murder rap in history, and now you got 33 years from the judge, which is nuts. Now, here's what's interesting. In his early life, he was raised in San Francisco, California. He's the son of Eunice, a hospital administrator, and Jimmy Lee Simpson, a chef and bank custodian. Check this out, y'all. Give me a yes or no if you knew this. I'm going to read this to you. His father was a well-known drag queen in the San Francisco Bay Area, and later Jimmy Simpson, OJ's father, announced that he was gay and died of AIDS in 1986. How many of y'all knew that? How many of y'all knew that OJ Simpson's daddy was a well-known drag queen who died of AIDS in 1986? Did you know that, babe?
I mean, in 1986, I was in elementary school.
Yeah, I mean, but did you even know that as a historical fact? Like, we know stuff maybe about, like, a lot of people, for example, there's like, and it's crazy how they, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I would say I have to ask people who are a little older than us, maybe that they remember.
But still, though, there are facts in history that we all kind of know, right? Like, we know about Rosa Parks, but none of us was actually there. We know Martin Luther King and the civil rights marches and, and all that. Like what I mean is, like, did you even know it as a historical fact? Like, did you even know that about him? Because there are things, like, there are people that know about the trial who weren't even born when the trial happened. I didn't know that about his father. That's my point. It was interesting to me because it's like one of those interesting little facts where you'll hear something about a celebrity that you never even thought about and didn't know. Another one that was interesting was a lot of people don't know that Martin Luther King's brother and his mother were all assassinated. Did y'all know that? Did anybody know that Martin Luther King's brother and his mother were assassinated? His brother was actually killed in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, 2 years after King got killed. And now they said it was a drowning, but he's a very good swimmer. But they claimed that he drowned in the pool. Yeah, right, whatever. And then his mother was just randomly killed. She was in a church playing the piano in the church in Atlanta, and some dude, a black dude, I think, came in there and just shot her.
When I think about OJ Simpson, what comes to mind, I always think about that CTE that, that I don't know anything about, like, how much of his thinking, just his behavior is a little, like, didn't he do a TV show? Didn't he write a book talking about if I actually did it or something like that? Like, I don't know if he was just looking for money or just trying to grab the little bit of scraps, he had, but it just makes you wonder about, like, what's going on with these football players. And
and that's interesting because they weren't even talking about CTE at that time. Mm-hmm. And that is a possibility, because football players, they said the vast majority of NFL players have CTE, like 90, like they asked the guy, they said, what percentage? He said about 99%. Yeah. So we know that there's brain damage there. The question is how much, and we know OJ took a lot of hits. He ran the ball a lot. He was the go-to guy, So, Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, it just reminds me, there's a lot of people who just get, like, when they first get started, there were a lot of men back then. I don't know necessarily if that's the case now, but there are a lot of examples of men who they used to be married to black women, and then, like, they go to Hollywood and they just and it doesn't work out for whatever reason, and then they marry white women. And it makes me wonder, like, what happened with Lionel Richie? I mean, he didn't fall through, of course.
I don't know what happened to Lionel Richie.
He was married to Brenda. You don't know about Brenda? He was married.
I don't know nothing about Lionel Richie's wife. Tell me, explain it to me.
You don't know he was married? Well, I just know because I'm from Tuskegee, and so I know about Lionel Richie and the Commodores. But, like, he was married to Brenda back in the day, and then he blew up and started his, I don't know, solo career, and then he married, like a Nicole Simpson.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
You gotta look it up. I mean, it'd be interesting to see, what that trend, if that trend continued.
Wow. Well, everybody, in case you just came in, you listen to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. I'm in finance, and that's what my doctorate's in. My wife is a therapist and full professor of social work, and we like to get together and try to have fun, smart conversations, particularly in areas related to love and money, and then things that involve Black people. So if you enjoy this kind of thing, please hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you share and subscribe, and also you can find all these podcasts on Spotify or Apple by looking up the Dr. Boyce Breakdown. And I want to remind everybody that on the 22nd, Dr. Christina Parks is joining us in the Black Business School, and she's going to do a 4-week masterclass on how to take care of your health in a post-pandemic world. If you remember, Dr. Parks did some extraordinary, amazing testimony for the Michigan House of Representatives during the pandemic. She stood up against what was going on with the pandemic, and she has a PhD in molecular biology from the University of Michigan, and really has a lot of things to kind of warn you about in terms of health and what's going on in our society. So if you'd like to join us, just go to boycewatkins.com. You can find the link right near the top of my website, and we get started on the 22nd, and I will be listening to Dr. Parks. She's a very smart lady. Kelvin Field says, I'm from Louisville too, and what part of town did you grow up in? Man, Kevin, I've been all over Louisville, man. I got my grandparents lived in the West End. I lived in Okolona for a little while. I lived out near the East Side, so near Ballard High School. So kind of everywhere. Now let me keep reading OJ's bio.
I used to live in Louisville too, by the way.
You did? I forgot. Yeah, from the age of like one till about what, 5, something like that. Is that when you lived?
No, I lived in Louisville from 0. I think I was an infant when we moved there until I was 4 years old.
That's crazy. That's so funny. Yeah. We found out that your house was very, very close to somebody that I knew, and it was kind of crazy when we went to your house. I couldn't believe how close it was. So check this out. Okay, so here's more about O.J. Simpson. A lot of people don't know his whole background. It's really interesting. So he was an all-city football player at Galileo, but his mediocre grades prevented him from attracting the interest of many college recruiters. So he wasn't heavily recruited at all. In fact, I think he had to go to a JUCO, which is crazy for a guy who won the Heisman Trophy. But he said after a childhood friend's injury in the Vietnam War influenced Simpson to stay out of the military, he enrolled in the City College of San Francisco. He played football as a running back and as a defensive back. And and the thing was that with his maternal grandparents were from Louisiana, his aunt gave him the name Orenthal, which she said was the name of a French actor she liked. He was called OJ from birth and did not know that his name was Orenthal until a teacher read it in the 3rd grade. So he didn't know what his name was.
I don't think none of us knew his name was Orenthal until they read it at the trial.
That's so true. I mean, I don't think anybody would want to be an Orenthal. That's kind of a terrible name. That's a hell of a punishment for your child. Simpson has one brother, Melvin Leon Truman Simpson. He has one living sister, Shirley Simpson Baker, and one deceased sister, Carmelita Simpson Durio. As a child, Simpson developed rickets and wore braces on his legs until the age of 5, making him bow-legged. Damn.
Something.
That's crazy. That's so crazy. I mean, given that he was, do you know, at USC, he ran track too, and they broke the NCAA 4x100 meter record at USC.
Black people, man, they can't nothing stop us.
Yeah, well, I wonder if the legs on his braces and the bow-leggedness somehow made him run faster or something. I don't know. That's kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, can you imagine like not being able to walk at one point? Like it's probably so important for you to be able to walk.
I'd be running my whole life. So Simpson was on an interesting path. He grew up in San Francisco, lived with his family in the housing projects in the Potrero neighborhood. His parents separated in 1952, and he ended up being raised by his mother. So I guess that's when they moved to San Francisco. In his early teenage years, he joined a street gang called the Persian Warriors and was briefly incarcerated at the San Francisco Youth Guidance Center. His future wife, Marguerite, his childhood sweetheart, described Simpson as, quote, a really awful person then. Mm-hmm. After his 3rd arrest, a meeting with Willie Mays, during which the baseball star encouraged Simpson to avoid trouble, persuaded him to reform. So it actually does work when you talk to kids. At Galileo High School, he played for the football team. He graduated in 1965. So how about that? So meeting Willie Mays is what changed him, took him out the streets.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what happened in that household. Um, Having a father who's a drag queen, I can't. I can't even imagine what he saw. Like something was amiss there. I mean, not to say that drag queens are terrible people; they aren't. But it just you can you imagine? I mean, just think about like being a drag queen and coming out as gay back in the 50s and the 40s. Like, I don't think it was pretty acceptable back then. It was a lot of pressure to get married and to be heterosexual. We live still, and even particularly back then in this heterosexual dominant world, like that's the norm. And so, and to be different and not fit in the norm, there had to have been something going on.
And that's got to be tough when, think about this. You're the father of one of the greatest athletes of all time, OJ Simpson. And so he's probably got like he probably had a lot of athletic ability. He's probably very masculine, like it reminds me of Bruce Jenner. Bruce Jenner was literally the greatest athlete on earth, the most manly man on the planet. And he had this secret in his own mind. In his mind, he was a woman, and it sounds like OJ's father might have had the same issue. And my heart goes out to people that go through that, like I can't imagine having my brain and being in a woman's body. That would be just so, the only I mean I only thing I can think of is like it'd probably be interesting. I probably would like appreciate looking at my own shape or something. I don't know, but it would be weird. Like it would be so weird. So I kind of feel like we should try to have some empathy for people that go through that,
I do have a lot of empathy for them. And even like Marvin Gaye, I think Marvin Gaye's father was a drag queen as well.
That's right, he was.
Yeah, it's just interesting because they were very religious. And can you imagine the oppression there? And and it's funny because Marvin Gaye was he was the ladies, he was a ladies' man. Do you overcompensate, for this idea that, if my dad is a drag queen, then what about me? I mean, I don't know if there's some identity sort of issues there to go.
And what if some of that's genetic? Like, what's the possibility? I mean, I don't know what the research says, but what if it's like father, like son? I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying, what if that's the case?
Yeah, I used to do a module in my diversity class about homosexuality, and I reference Science Daily. I love that. Y'all, if y'all want to know anything about science and any like hard information, I like, how I like data, I like research studies, I like to see what's going on. But Science Daily is one of my favorite websites because it translates all of these top science journals, and then somebody just writes it into like plain language so that anybody could read it. So I like going on there, and there is, there are some scientists who are now saying there is a gay gene, that there is there's a bunch of different theories about why and how some people are gay, and there's a couple of theories about locating and identifying a gay gene. Yeah. So it could be genetic, but it's still just that in your head, like you identify with your father. I mean, all boys identify with their father very much. And, if you get this information, like, wow, okay, so you're a drag queen, this is not the kind of lifestyle you really want to live. It makes those individuals kind of look at themselves in a different way. So maybe like overcompensating for that, because definitely Marvin Gaye was, you gotta read his story. He was kind of out there, and Lionel, OJ Simpson was, he was a ladies man too. So
interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna read more of this to you. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. You're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. If you'd like a free copy of my book, Financial Lovemaking, or you want to take our Black Love Challenge, feel free to go to boyceandalicia.com. There's the URL on the screen. We have lots of free stuff we'd love to give you. And also, we'd be remiss not to tell you guys that in the Black Business School, we formed the first ever Black financial therapy department. So we've actually got together with some of the best therapists and financial experts on the planet to basically understand these psychological barriers that keep us from building Black wealth. That is something that we're very serious about. We're really excited about it. So feel free to take a look at that. And so let me go ahead and read more of this to you. We're talking about O.J. Simpson, and the whole conversation, in case you just got here, it started with this picture. And it started with this picture of that I just saw online. I don't know how I saw it, but I saw O.J. Simpson with this beautiful Black wife, Marguerite, these beautiful Black children. And then later on, he's with Nicole Brown Simpson. And a lot of people feel like that's kind of when things went downhill. Now, I'm not here to blame Nicole for that or Marguerite. I think that OJ is the one responsible for the life of OJ, right? And that's where I stand on that. But I really think it's interesting. Particularly, it made me think about all the women in particular that were saying, why are we chasing waterfalls? What is it about these athletes? Because you see it a lot. You see these athletes. Let me tell you a story about this, baby. I'll let you get your thoughts on this as a Black woman. I knew a guy who worked with the San Francisco 49ers, and he was doing like support, like something with the Black males. He was working with the Black males. So he goes to the 49ers organization. He says, first, I want to meet all the players' wives so I can talk to their wives. Mm-hmm. And he said, I walked in the room and there was not one single Black woman in the entire room. He said, I thought I was in the wrong room. He said, I had to be in the wrong building. He said, there was not one single Black woman in the room. Now, give me a yes or no. This is a question for the ladies. Does this bother you? Like, how does this make you feel? It would make me feel like crap. I'd be mad. If Black women were doing that, and this is not true that all Black men are doing this. It's proven. Most Black men, most educated Black men marry Black women, right? That's a fact. But there's something weird in the water when it comes to the athletes, or maybe you're talking about LA culture. How does that make you feel as a Black woman? And how do we even process things like that?
Man, let me tell you, it just reminds me when I was in college, and I was friends with some of the basketball players, and just platonic friends or whatever. But the white women was vicious, man. They was all over them. Not all white women, but a lot of the ones I saw were. Woo, honey, it was. I had front row seat to like some of the things that they would say to them, and they were very aggressive, and that was something that was outside of anything that I was taught growing up. That's not how you carry yourself around a man, and I thought they were really aggressive, and I think on some level, and we've talked about this before, somehow, and I don't know if this is the case now. It could be, but in some circles, it's like. That's the status. Like you made it. You became successful and you got yourself a little snow bunny on your arm, and that's the pillar of success. It's like I am, and it's almost like particularly if you've come across racism as a Black man, there's a bunch of different ways to respond to racism, but one of the ways to respond to racism is to say, look what I got. You know what I mean? Not only have I made it and overcome things that you have tried to stop me from achieving, but not only have I made it, I got your woman too. So it's almost like it's almost like a one up or like a gotcha. And this is not conscious. I think it's like an unconscious response, that one of many responses. This is just one of those responses to, high levels of racism and discrimination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like it, to be honest with you. I kind of feel like it's weird. I kind of feel like it's like, come on, man. Like I don't get it. I never understood it. But let me read more to you about OJ and his background. There's actually more. And I'm gonna skip forward a little bit. They talk about his NFL career and stuff like that. But let's talk about his acting career and his career. So here's how he became an actor. Simpson said he did not seriously consider an acting career until seeing Lee Marvin and Richard Burton while filming The Klansman in Oroville, California, ordering chili from Chasen's via a private jet. He said in 1980 that, quote, the Oscar or the Emmy says you've reached a level of competence in the business, and I would love to have one. So Simpson avoided starring. He specifically avoided blaxploitation films, choosing third or fourth leading roles while studying experienced stars like Marvin and Burton. The Hertz commercials from 1975 benefited Simpson's acting career, but he sometimes intentionally chose non-positive roles. He said, I've got to tear down the picture of O.J. Simpson, the clean-cut athlete, to get believability into whatever part I'm playing. So he was in the Naked Gun trilogy. According to Arnold Schwarzenegger, Simpson was considered by director James Cameron to play the Terminator. Okay, that's new.
Oh,
Did anybody know that O.J. Simpson was gonna be the Terminator? That's crazy. Did you know that, babe?
I didn't know that, but I think what you're saying is interesting. It's almost like his measure of success is getting in the white man's movie and winning the white man's awards. That was his measure of success, and he's like, I'm not going to do black films because it's less than. I'm gonna break into these other types of films. Ooh, boy.
Like, yeah. I'm not black, I'm OJ.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy, right? That's so funny.
Wait, wasn't the this is a tangent. Wasn't the Terminator apparently like written by Sophia Stewart or something? A black lady?
Yeah, I think it was. I thought it was the Matrix, but maybe it was the Terminator.
I could have sworn she said in one of her interviews. I used to like watch a lot of her interviews, but I could have sworn she also said that she wrote the Terminator too.
Well, you know, did I ever tell you that I had a 3-hour conversation with Sophia Stewart?
I can't believe that. What was that?
Yeah, I don't know how we ended up on the phone together. I don't even remember what the situation was, but we talked on the phone back in like 2010. And we talked a long time. And whenever somebody wants to talk to me that long, I kind of feel like maybe she was flirting with me or something. I couldn't tell. So maybe she's a cougar or something. And what she told me was really fascinating. So she told me we were talking about the Matrix and Neo and all that. And she told me that she designed Neo's character after Muhammad Ali. And she said that the reason was because Muhammad Ali was her first and greatest love of all time. Which is interesting because he was a lot of women's loves. Yeah. And but that's what she told me. I remember that. Say it again.
No, I said we could talk about him. He was a ladies for sure, a ladies man. I mean, there's no secret to that.
Yeah, well, it's funny now that I'm like calculating in my head some of the interesting conversations I've had. Another interesting conversation I had about Ali was with Al Sharpton. I remember in 2009 I was sitting with Al on his radio show. And we sat together for 4 hours. And Al Sharpton, I don't agree with his politics. I don't like a lot of some of what he does, but he told the most fascinating stories. And whether people know it or not, Al Sharpton is a brilliant man. He's a genius. And, just in terms of cognitive ability, people don't see it, but he's very smart. He sounds, when he speaks is incredibly inarticulate, but.
Oh, well, then he does it on purpose then.
maybe he does. Maybe so. But let me tell you what he said. I remember he talked about Ali. And he said, that Ali was the biggest womanizer that he ever saw in his life. He said I hung out with James Brown. And he said, and James used to have so many women that James could not go to bed without a woman in his bed. He said, we'd be sitting out in the lobby at 4:00 in the morning trying to find some woman that'll get to bed with him so he could sleep that night. And he said Ali was worse than James Brown. So apparently those guys got around. Ooh, and and I guess it's life. And I guess at that time, you didn't get beat up on, for being a ladies' man. Now they would have got Me Too'd into the ground, but still though, it comes with a price. Because I think Ali, he lost a lot of his money from messing with all them different women. So there's the downside.
He wasn't very good with money. But yeah, my mom said that back in the day, she met Red Fox. She was like, Red Fox was just flirting with everybody. Hey, cutie pie. Hey, how you doing? He was in Chicago. They were eating dinner and he was in the restaurant and he was just flirting with every woman in the whole restaurant. It's kind of interesting. And he was another guy that wasn't good with money. Red Fox,
Oh, yeah. Well, he died broke.
Which
is sad as hell. I remember him begging. I remember him on his knees on the Arsenio Hall show, begging Eddie Murphy to help him pay his taxes. Remember that? Yeah, it was sad, to see a guy at that age, and so many great black men with so much money died broke, and it's just sad, but it's life, things happen. And I think we should learn from that, right? Like we can't just repeat what somebody else did, like Uncle Willie messed up. Don't be like Uncle Willie. Learn from Uncle Willie's life. Respect him, honor him for the good things he taught you. but then also realize that some of his best lessons might have been reverse psychology. Don't do what I did. That's a bit. I learned. I've had uncles that didn't make the best choices, but believe me, watching them go down taught me a lot about what to avoid in life. You know, so they were kind of like crash dummies for me. Some like, okay, okay, so you did that and you went to jail. Okay, I know not to do that now. You know,
Well, it does. For some of us, it can come easy, but some people it doesn't necessarily come that easy because there's other things that barriers that get in the way. You know, it's interesting. Al Sharpton. When I think of him, I just think of the fact that he's a CIA agent. Like we can't trust anything that comes out of his mouth.
well, you know, he was an informant, right?
Not,
And
this was. There's no past tense.
well, no,
Like,
right. That's what I mean. Like, so CIA agent. I don't know if that was the appropriate term to use. However, I think you're talking about informant, and there is some evidence to that. I know. And where it came from was there was a drug deal that that apparently Sharpton got caught in, and Brian Gumble called him out on it. And they had videotaped him, and there's a mafia guy, a white guy who's in the mafia. I forgot his name. I got to look him up, but he has a great YouTube channel, and he told a story about Sharpton. And he said, yeah, I see Sharpton's doing his thing with the black community. I think it's all a hustle, but he said I'm happy for him because it appears to be working or whatever. And he was talking about a deal where something with Don King, and they were dealing with a guy who turned out to be an informant, and he had told Sharpton, like, let's be careful, and let's not do too much until we know for sure. And he said that behind their back, he claimed that Sharpton went and offered the guy a drug deal, and that was when they pinched him, and that's where a lot of people feel like he became an informant. And you're right, I don't think there is a past tense on that. And it's interesting though, right? Because next thing you know, a few years later, he's next to Obama. That doesn't look well for anybody.
Yeah, he's in the in group. I mean, what we're talking about here in a nutshell is black people in this system, and it's one or the other. Either you in with the good boys or you out with the good boys. And to be in with the in group, you have to follow a script. That's really what we're talking about. You have to follow a script. And Brenda and Marguerite don't have what it takes. They're just like, dude, this is not, I mean, do you really want to step into this world? And you have to kind of shed your old life to get into the big boy club, and you have to follow that agenda and say whatever. You have to stay on script, basically. And if you're somebody like Kanye West, OJ Simpson, some of these other people who are off script, it's hell to pay the piper. I don't see. I don't know. I don't want to predict anything. I'll tell you personally what my prediction is. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it publicly, but it's just not going to look good for you. But I mean, that's what we're talking about.
All right, everybody. Well, you're listening to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I want to give you guys Dr. Alicia's website. She's a licensed therapist and a couples counselor, and a full professor of social work. So if you'd like to learn more about what she does, you can visit coachingwithdralicia.com. And also, I should also mention that I do have a new book out, and it's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And it is a simple family guide on how to be on code when it comes to your family economics, and how to come up with a simple generational wealth plan that will impact your family for 100 years. So feel free to pick up a copy of that. You can go to my website, boycewatkins.com, and the book is right there. So feel free to click that link and take a look at that book. That's my new book. I'm going to do a book tour in the spring, and so we'll come to a few different cities and let you guys know, what's kind of going to be happening in that context. So do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. I'm going to read one more thing to you from OJ's bio that really got my attention. And let me see here. Where is it? Endorsements. Okay. So as a child, Simpson earned money by scalping tickets and collecting seat cushions at Kezar Stadium. In high school, he organized dances, hiring a band and ballroom, and charging admission. Let's see here. In 1975, People magazine wrote that Simpson was, quote, the first black athlete to become a bona fide, lovable media superstar. He used his amiable persona, good looks, and charisma in many endorsement deals. Beginning in 1975, he appeared in advertisements with Hertz. How many of y'all remember the Hertz commercials with OJ running through the airport? Very successful ad campaign. Commercials depicted Simpson as running through airports, embodying speed, as others shouted to him in the Hertz slogan, "Go OJ, go!" So it's like run, Forrest, run. Right? Besides helping his acting career, Simpson estimated that the very successful Superstar in Rent-A-Car campaign raised the recognition rate among people he met from 30% to 90%. Hertz's annual profit increased by 50% to $42.2 million within the first year. Brand awareness increased by more than 40%. And 97% of viewers understood that the commercials advertised Hertz, avoiding the common vampire video problem. I guess that's when people know the star in your commercial, but they don't know the product. Simpson was so important to the company that the CEO, Frank Olson, personally negotiated his contract, and Hertz used him for an unusually long time for a celebrity endorser. Advertising Age in 1977 named Simpson the magazine's star presenter of the year. By 1984, Consumer Research found that he was the most popular athlete endorser, and a 1990s MCI communications commercial starring Eunice Simpson satirized her son's work. It was his mother. Although Simpson appeared less often in Hertz commercials by the late 1980s, his relationship with the company continued. Simpson was to travel to Chicago to meet with the Hertz executives and clients on the night of the Brown Goldman murder.
Whoa.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's deep. That's heavy. What say you? Any thoughts?
Yeah, my mind's going. I have heard every single conspiracy theory around that murder. Than it is. It's all, and all those conspiracies are just flooding through my head right now. So he was getting big. He was big, basically, before that murder. Interesting. That's all I can say. He was really big.
Well, check this out. Other products Simpson endorsed included Pioneer Chicken, Honey Baked Ham, Calistoga Water Company's line of Napa natural soft drinks, and Dingo cowboy boots. As president and CEO of O.J. Simpson Enterprises, he owned hotels and restaurants. When Simpson and Brown divorced in 1992, he had $10 million in assets and $1 million in annual income, including $550,000 from Hertz. During the June 1994 police chase, spectators shouted, "Go, OJ, go," as Simpson rode in his white Bronco, which was owned by Hertz.
Woo! Isn't that something? So he had this very public divorce, and she was talking about he was abusive, right? Didn't she say that?
I didn't see that, but I mean, I could look to see, but I didn't see anything about him being abusive.
There may have been, I don't remember. I don't know. Like, I think that O.J. Simpson trial, the day of the verdict, it's almost like a September 11 moment. Like, you know exactly where you were and what you were doing when it was announced. And I think like the really interesting thing was that when the results were announced, Orenthal, when we learned his name was Orenthal, I was in a mixed room. I mean, it was just like, they were like a room at my university at Indiana, and it was just like a big room, and it was racially mixed. And it was just interesting when he was not guilty, all the Black people cheered and all the white people were like in tears. And it was just like, and I was looking at them like they crazy, and they were looking at me like I was crazy. Like, we were all like, "What? You're not excited about this?" And they were looking at me like, you're really happy about this for some reason. It was just like, it was really a clarifying moment in our community. It was, you know.
Yeah, the OJ trial kind of showed you where America really was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I know very few Black people who were not happy about that verdict. And I don't know a lot of white people who were not unhappy. And it's interesting. What was interesting to me is not just the racial divide of happiness versus unhappiness, but how happy people were and how unhappy people were. You know what I mean? Like, I get it if you're just like, well, I thought he was guilty, but whatever. But you're crying. Like, the white girl is crying because he did not get convicted. I'm like, what are you crying for? Are you crying because the black man didn't get what he deserved? Are you crying because you feel sorry for the blonde-haired, blue-eyed so-called angel that got killed? Like, what's going through your mind that's making you cry over how many? I mean, I don't know. None. I don't cry. I don't cry when I don't cry when murder trial verdicts are announced. I might say, whoa, dude, whatever. But I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, boo-hoo. Like, what is making you cry? That's what I want to ask the people that
I was curious. Yeah, I was curious too, because I was like, man, like the glove didn't fit, so he ain't do it. It was almost
shout out to Johnny Cochran. I shade Johnny Cochran.
Johnny Cochran. I'm like, that's they made that up. I was thinking, like, come on, what's up? Y'all racist. I didn't want to talk to no white person that whole day. I was like, leave me alone. I don't like none of y'all. Y'all think all of us do it. We ain't murderers. We were just, it was like my brother went down or somebody close to me. I don't know why. Psychological. That's how, you know what? That's how powerful the subconscious mind is. I met Johnny Cochran. He came to my university. Oh, I have his autograph and everything. I have his autograph in the back room back here. I'll show it to you when you come home.
If the glove don't fit, he didn't do that shit.
He didn't do it. I'm not. Glove didn't fit. Sit down somewhere, Becky.
Well, that's true. Like the glove did not fit. Like you had to let him go, even if you thought he was guilty. You had to let him go.
Them white people did not let that go. They have long memories.
Yeah, they're like, no, but we're white. The rules don't apply to us. It's like, no, the glove don't fit. He didn't do that shit.
Which is interesting because isn't that how the Kardashians' father, wasn't he involved in that? See how this all kind of comes together?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, not the Kardashian. It's the Jenner. Is it no Kardashian, right?
Yeah, it was Robert Kardashian. Yeah, and I think he denounced OJ or something before.
They all grew up together. OJ Simpson, I think, was like their godfather. Or what?
Really?
They were. I want to say OJ Simpson was the godfather of Kim and all of them, Khloe and all the Kardashians. I want to say they were really close. They all hung out together. I watched the reality show, so I'm almost certain that was part of their story.
Yeah, I feel like Rob Kardashian was OJ's friend, and they called him like his friend and advisor or something. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I mean that was my understanding. Is that yeah, look at that. Yeah. I'm almost certain I remember seeing that in the reality show. I do watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I don't religiously watch it, but I have seen it, and I'm just out of curiosity. But yeah, I'm almost certain they all grew up together. That was like their godfather, OJ Simpson.
Okay.
So they were there when the trial was, when it was announced. I think they were all there. But anyway.
Well, let me read this last part to you about his wife, Marguerite. In 1967, when he was 19 years old, he married Marguerite Whitley. Together, they had 3 children: Arnell, Jason, and Aaron. Arnell was born in 1968, Jason in 1970. Aaron's born in 1977. This says 77 through 79. I don't know what that means. In August 1979, Aaron, the baby. Oh, that's right. Aaron died. They had a baby die. I want to get your take on this. You're a relationship therapist, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. So they actually had their 2-year-old die. Aaron drowned in the family swimming pool, and this was in 1979. Now, OJ met Nicole Brown Simpson 2 years earlier. So when the baby was born, and they had 2 kids, a newborn, he met Nicole in 1977 while she was working as a waitress at a nightclub called The Daisy. Although still married to his first wife, Simpson began dating Brown. Simpson and Marguerite divorced in March 1979. So right after their child, or right around the time their child died in the pool, is when they got their divorce.
Ooh, boy.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah, it's complex grief. That's what I'm thinking of. blaming each other. Probably Marguerite don't just had it, Yeah, blame and guilt and shame and just a lot of very complex feelings around the loss of a child and the loss of a marriage. Whew.
Yeah, that's very timely. Like, all those pieces are just super timely in my mind because I'm thinking, okay, so 1977 is when you meet Nicole. The baby's just born. So this is like around the time where you're dealing with 9 months of a pregnant woman, and pregnant women, like the mood swings and everything else, it can be tough, right? OJ was not an old man. He was.
Well, being pregnant can be tough too, boys.
Right. Oh, being pregnant is far tougher than dealing with a pregnant person, for sure. We know this. We know this, right? That, believe me, you get all the trophies and everything else for giving life to us. So thank you to all the mamas out here who deal with that, because I know, Monique, my goddaughter, is having a baby now, and we were talking about all the stuff she's going through. So I get it, believe me. So I guess I'm piecing this together in my head. So in 1977, here's where OJ is. OJ is about 30 years old. He's becoming super, super, super famous. White people love him now. At home, he's got his wife, Marguerite. They have a 9-year-old child and a 7-year-old and a newborn. And that's when he meets Nicole Brown Simpson, who's working as a waitress at the nightclub.
He's at a nightclub. Don't you know what? Don't get me started.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's like what's up with these men sometimes? And I ain't saying all men, you know what I mean? It's just like it's okay to go to a nightclub and all of that. I'm not saying, but like if you're married with 3 small children like that, and then you just feel the need to just go out to a nightclub. I mean, I get it and everything, but a waitress in a nightclub, like, come on.
Now, mind you, in 1977, OJ is at the peak of his fame. He's been in the NFL for a few years. He's still in the NFL. He's still known as, he's the LeBron James of the NFL, right? So you're talking about a guy who's just surrounded by all kinds of people, white women coming at him. He's messing with probably dabbling in the white stuff, in the snow, not just with the snow bunnies, but the snow cane. And I just sort of visualize this lifestyle that's not really fit for a family man, right? You got 3 kids.
Let me tell you what I'm thinking. You don't do right by a black woman. You don't do right by a black woman, and all hell's gonna come down on you. That's my ongoing theory.
That's your ongoing theory.
I'm sticking to that one.
Okay, Steely.
Black
black women.
You don't do right.
Everything you do gonna fail.
Let me say that's the best line in that whole film. There's a lot of classic lines in The Color Purple. I mean, but that's the
hard for to beat me.
I should come up with all the examples of black men that don't do right by black women and their whole life crumbles. It just works that way.
Well, y'all got us through slavery, so I guess you got a point there.
We got y'all living. We got you through breathing, conception. We got you through all of that.
So here's what happened to OJ after he left his black wife. So he marries Nicole Brown Simpson, and he divorces Marguerite in 1979. He marries Nicole in 1985, 5 years after he retired from football. The couple had 2 children, Sydney Brooke in 1985 and Justin Ryan in 1988. The marriage lasted 7 years, during which Simpson pleaded no contest to spousal abuse in 1989. Yeah. Brown filed for divorce February 25th, 1992. Citing irreconcilable differences in 1993. After the divorce, Brown and Simpson made an attempt at reconciliation, but according to Sheila Weller, they, quote, they were a dramatic, fractious, mutually obsessed couple before they married, after they divorced in 1992, and after they reconciled. So it sounds like they were just crazy in love, kind of like a Bobby Whitney thing with and all that. What do you think was going? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it does sound like a Bobby Whitney, and that never ends well. It's just like it's crazy. It's one of those I call it like high conflict, but at the same time, I mean, it's like some deep kind of love that you have for each other. Where it's just like make you go crazy. It's kind of deep. It's a real kind of obsessive. I wouldn't even be surprised if he was a little obsessed with her. Because I really do think Whitney and Bobby, Whitney, I mean, all the way up until, you know, when she passed away, I mean, she was always in love with Bobby. Her, I mean, she spoke about him like that was the love that got away. I don't think she ever got over Bobby Brown.
You know what I feel? I'm gonna give a theory on OJ.
Okay.
I tend to be biased toward the importance of the father. And given that OJ's father, it sounds like his father wasn't really connected with him. I know his mother got a divorce and they moved away. And then his father died when OJ was about, I want to say, 19 years old. I feel like the choices OJ made when he became an athlete were the result of him being thrown into this world where, think about this, you grow up as a kid in the projects. You're already a little bit of a knucklehead. He joined the street gangs, probably got into fights, probably got in trouble when he was young. Now you're in a world where you have a get out of jail free card. You're a superstar football player in the NFL with a ton of money in your pocket. You got all the women, you got drugs, you got all kinds of stuff around you that will make you believe that you're Superman, you know, including the cocaine, but not even just, but even without the coke, he was already getting high on the fame is a drug, money is a drug, women are a drug, you know. And so my thought is that without that guidance, that mentorship he probably needed, I'm sure people tried to mentor him. I'm sure guys like Jim Brown probably came along and tried to help guide him a little bit. It sounds like he just got caught up in that crazy life, right? So, you know, you're dealing with a regular guy's life, the traditional life, right? Married, 3 kids, you have a set of responsibilities. I believe, at least I know in my family, my father is the one who reminds me and my brother of the responsibility we have to our family. He guides us on these things. He has these values that say, you know, yes, I'm there with your mother, you be there with your wife. These are guiding principles that come from the patriarch, you know, of the family. So you take the father out of the equation, then suddenly, you know, you're just this man who's making your own decisions based on what feels good in the moment, what you want to do, what you enjoy. And I feel like a good male mentor, father or no father, anybody that he trusted and listened to, who could just slap him and say, dude, what are you doing? You know, you run around with these women, you run around with these drugs, you're abandoning your kids and your family. This is not going to end well for you. I think that would have led him on a different path. Now, whether or not he killed Nicole, that right there is kind of a questionable part, right? Because there's so many theories. You know, it could have been a drug execution. Nobody knows what it was. But still, just the environment in his life, it makes me very sad because here you saw a guy, he's just like, to me, his downfall reminded me of the downfall of Bill Cosby, the downfall of Tiger Woods, even to some extent a little bit of the downfall of Mike Tyson, kind of not quite the same, but similar, you know. And I really think when you go into that vortex of fame and money and everything else, you got to have somebody guiding you through that so you don't lose your way, especially when you're a young man. What are your thoughts?
Do you have a recent picture of OJ Simpson? Do we know what he looks? What does he look like right now? He's 75.
I'll find a picture. Go ahead and tell me what you think, and I'll find his picture now.
No, I mean, yeah, I so agree with what you're saying. It's almost like he's a lost soul, you know, and he's just looking for some acceptance, and he's looking for, I mean, I think a lot of people who just are addicted to the fame, you know, it's more than just the money. They get excited, and they their whole esteem is based on, look at me, you know, things that they can do and people that they can meet and just pictures they take with individuals. Like, I just feel like they get kind of lost and caught up into all of that. Look at that. I mean, that's a real lost soul.
Well, you know, OJ's interesting, right? He actually has a Twitter page with a few, I think there's a few 100,000 followers.
Go on Twitter. Let's see what he has to say.
He says things on Twitter that are very wise. Like, literally,
Oh.
OJ has turned into the OG. He shouldn't be called OJ no more. He should be called OG because OJ gives some really good advice on his Twitter. I'm not kidding. I think I follow him. I don't remember seeing a tweet from him though. Let me see. I'm gonna find him. But yeah, OJ really actually has a good Twitter account. Let's see. It's the real OJ32. He has 887,000 followers on Twitter. Let's see. I'm gonna share my screen. So those of you who listen on Spotify, you won't be able to see this, but I'll describe it to you. So here, if you go to OJ's Twitter page, let's see here. What's his latest tweet? There's something about congratulations to Caleb Williams at USC. I guess Caleb Williams plays football. I don't know what the congratulations is for exactly. I can look it up. That's an ad. Let's see here. Much respect to Baker Mayfield and also this year's Heisman Trophy candidates. Okay. The best time is yet to come. So he's saying a lot of things for USC football. That's really interesting.
So he's connecting to like the best part of his life was probably when he was playing football in college. So it's like he's really connecting to that. You know, I don't know, like athletes who become professional, they stay there. They cannot move on to anything else. So he's connected with his university, and he's like, looks like he's out golfing and stuff.
Yeah, like I listen, like he has some really wise things to say about the Will Smith slap. He made a comment about that. I don't remember what he said exactly. I can't share the audio necessarily if I'll hit the wrong button. But basically, like here, look at this. This sounds so wise. He says, sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug. See, that sounds like he's probably from super wise. And, you know, and it looks like he's talking about football a lot, you know, which is good, right? He's talking about the Bills, USC. He played for the Bills. He played for USC. Apparently, he's got some fantasy football stuff going on. I imagine he maybe has some deals with like DraftKings and some of these other places because it looks like he's talking a lot about football these days. Congratulations to Elon Musk. Maybe now I can get verified. Monday morning observations. Yeah, so I really, it's interesting, right?
Twitter world is me.
I'm really happy for OJ. Like, I feel like everybody deserves an opportunity to reinvent themselves. You know, I don't think this man should be judged for things that allegedly happened 30 years ago. I just don't think that's right. You know, at 75 years old, he should be able to turn the page on his life, you know, and move on. But it's something about being a black man where people are like, no, you must pay the price for anything you did, even if you did it when you were 3.
Oh, well, that's their rules. You know how we are. We always forgive.
Well, yeah. I wouldn't want OJ babysitting my kids or nothing, but
we're not saying reconcile. I mean, reconcile is different from forgiveness.
There you go. Thank you.
I don't get that in your head. Forgiveness means we're gonna get back together. No. Actually, forgiveness doesn't even require the other person to ask for forgiveness.
All right. Well, you know what? I hope you all can forgive us for heading out tonight. We are done for the night, and we look forward to seeing you guys again. And so if you could, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe before you go. Also, Alicia's website is coachingwithdralicia.com. So if you'd like to learn more about what she does, feel free to go to coachingwithdralicia.com. She's a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work, and she sees clients on a regular basis. Also, if you'd like to get a free copy of my new book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, or if you'd like to join us for Dr. Christina Park's special training on managing your health in a post-pandemic world, feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. I put that all on my site, and you can join us. And there's my book, and I'm super proud of it. And I guarantee you that your family will be transformed by what we put in this book. I spent a lot of time on it, and I wrote it just for Black folks. And so there you go. There's my gift to you. So God bless you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. And we will check back in with you soon, and we'll talk to you later. Take care now. Bye-bye.